In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create load plans. We'll do a load plan on a shipment, and we're going to create multiple load plans. Once the load plans are finished, we're going to mark them as complete, and once we have selected which load plan will be used, we'll mark that one as active. Then we'll transfer the load plans to the actual loading in one of either two ways, either as a summary per hold or just the detailed steps of the load plan. So let's go into MineMarket. So we're looking at the Shipment Explorer, where I've got a list of shipments, and if I highlight one of the shipments, I can see the load state for the ship is empty at the moment. So I'm going to open up this shipment. This shipment, once I select that, I can see all the dispatch orders. So I've got two different customers, and I've got fine and lumps, two different products that I'm going to be loading on this load plan. So if we open up the shipment, the important thing is you can't do a load plan until you actually nominate a vessel. That's important because we need to know what the structure is of the vessel. Right. So if we go to the logistics tab, I'm going to just to make it more visible, I'm just going to minimize those and just make this a little bit bigger. Just make this a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on here. Okay, so at the moment this area is blanked out. As soon as I create a right click here in the dispatch plan versions area, and I say I want a new loading plan, this section is enabled. So on the left here we're seeing all the different process flows with which we can load. So we can either load from a barge, or from a train, or from a truck, or from the yard. Okay. We can see a tolerance here of 10%, and I'll talk about this a little bit later. Right. So let's have a look. So I'm going to open up, and let's say we're going to load the lumps. We're going to do the load plan for the lumps first, and then we're going to add the fines after that. So let's just look at the quantities. So if we go to the marketing tab on the dispatch order, they're both 60,000. So I'm going to keep it simple by just doing 6 loads of 10,000 tons each. MineMarket has got no limit to how many steps or how many sequence steps that you can load here. We have a customer that loads about probably 25 to 30 steps per vessel. Right. So we open this up, and then what we see here, we see process flow, we'll see the port yard, and then we'll see all the stockpiles, where each stockpile has got a name and it's got the product that's been assigned to it. Right. Now we've also assigned colors to the different products, and this helps the shipping officer to be able to not mix products by accident in the different holds. So let's do lumps first. So let's say he goes and he drags it, and you can see the cursor. I'll drag and hold, and you can see there's like sort of a no entry sign. And if I try and put it here, there's a no entry sign, and as soon as I go there, it becomes a little square. The little cursor becomes a square on the end. Okay, that just shows that's a valid place, right? So I can drop it there, and automatically it's done. What it's done for me, it's picked the process flow because I've selected it there. It's got the source, yard, stockyard, that's stockpile number 1, and I'm loading it into vessel hold number 1. Okay, so our holds are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 8. What we can see as well is from the side view, we'll see the color of the product, and we can see the bold around with a sort of a highlight that can show that this is the one, this is the line that we've selected. Okay, So everything is selected. All that the shipping officer has to do is put in, let's say, so we're just going to keep it simple, and we're going to do big loads of 10,000 tons each. Right. Okay, and then he maybe, just not to crack the boat, he might load in the back, and then he might load another 10,000 in there. Oops. Okay, that's because you got the running total here, you can quickly see if you've made a mistake in your tons. Okay. So you keep doing the same thing, and I'm just going to do. So we could do it in there, and then we're going to do it in there. Okay. So let's say, and then I'm going to load it again into the first hold. And I'm going to load it into the back hold. Okay. So what you can see, the little numbers here correspond. So you can see I've got a row, sequence number 6 highlighted, and there you can see the bold around it, and that number, the step number, is highlighted. Okay. So you can see the color of the product, and you can see here, you can see the hold in hold number 8. The 6th step in the loading goes into that hold. If we select line number 3, for instance, then we can see, okay, it's in the 3rd hold, it's the 3rd step, and it's a certain color product, right? So all I need to do is just put in 10,000 tons here for each one. Right, and I can see 60,000. Okay, always important to save. As you're working, keep saving in MineMarket. Right. So the next thing is, we might then say, okay, let's do all the fines, load all the fines, and they might come from different stockpiles. But just to keep it simple as an illustration, I'm going to do it from stockpile number 2. Okay, so we do there, and then we're going to do it there. And you can do as many as you want, and you can see. So there are the steps: 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. And if you want to have more space, then you can just do that. So putting the 10,000 for each one. Okay, so then we've got our totals for the shipment, and we just save that. So if we go back to, so we got 120,000, and if we go back to our dispatch orders, we've got 64 lumps, and we've got 64 fines. Right, so we're happy. We've got version 1 of the plan is complete. What happens at the ports is that you often have that the loader would not be able to start loading on this side, and the second plan might be it's only able to start loading on this side, and it might start with a different product. Okay, that's just based on the inventory in the stock in the stockpile. So we're going to create a new loading plan. So let me mark that first one as complete. We're happy with that one, and now we're going to do the second one. So the second one. So let's just do we start off with fines, and let's go and do fines first. Okay. 1. Oops. Mistake that I've made is I've got the first plan selected, and I kept loading on that. So if you do that, a quick way to get rid of this is just to go and just delete. So I can just go and delete these other ones that I don't need, and then I'm back to my original plan. So I'll save that again. While I right clicked, you could see there were a couple of options. So you could always insert. If you've missed a step, you can insert, or you can move the sequence up or you can move the sequence down. Okay, so that's for the first plan's complete. So let's go to the second plan. And we start off and we say, okay, I want to go load it in there. And if I want to make the ship a little bit bigger, do that. I can say finds there, and finds there. And you can build up your plan, you know, any oops. Okay, so there I've just made a mistake. So I could see the side view clearly shows that I've loaded two of the different products into the same hold, which is probably not something that I want to do. Okay, so I can either delete it or I can just select a different hatch. So if I select a different hatch, instead of hatch number 1, I can select hatch number 2. It'll move there. So there's different ways to do it. So let's go and we just add a couple of lumps in here. And there. So I'll just make these steps, just for the sake of the video, I'll just make all these, we've got 4 steps on each, and I'll just make it 15,000 just to get nice round numbers. 15,000. Okay, and this plan is mark that as complete, and we save it. So if you're doing like 25, 30 steps, you're doing a lot of multiple small little pause. Always recommended keep saving in between. Right, so now we've got 2 plans, and we probably need to have some notification to tell the loading systems which is the active plan. Okay, so let's pick the first plan because it's just got a couple of more steps in it. So you mark the first one as active, and so this is the active plan. This is the plan that's going to be used, and normally this gets determined quite late in the process as the vessel's arrived and close to when it's arriving. Right. So the next thing is now we've done the load plans. MineMarket has no limit in how many load plans you do. And it's got no limit in how many sequence steps you do. Right. So if we go into the loading tab, so the shipping office has done a lot of work creating all this, putting all the planned masses in, etc. So to help him so that he doesn't have to re-enter everything, he can either go and load all from the loading plan in the detailed steps. So in this first case, we're going to have all the steps. So it's the 8 plus I think another 4 extra. So that's 12 lines, sequence lines that would have in there. Or we could say just load the hatch product summary. For some of these hatches that we had 2 transactions, we would then only see the total. Okay. Now remember what I showed you earlier on in the planned loading. When we created the plan, we had a tolerance there of 10%. Okay. Now what this tolerance will do is, as soon as we transfer the load plan into the loading tab, there won't be a mass. Okay. So then the difference between the actual mass and the planned mass will be greater than 10%, and we'll have a big red line highlighted across. Okay, so let's go and do. Let's just go and do it as a summary. So there we see all the red lines because we're outside the tolerance of 10%. Right. So this is where it's important that we don't take the numbers in the plan. So we're forcing the guys to record the actual transaction. So let's say it's 10,120 tons went in there, and you can see that's outside 10%, so that's why it stays red. Say this is 10, 10, 2. Okay. So let's just see what the totals were in every hold. So let's say it's 14,000. This one is 14,000. Okay, so now the shipping officer can quickly see, hang on, I've got a lot of items where the mass is very different to the planned mass. Okay? So it's just a visual aid to help you with when you're doing your data entry. So if we scroll to the right, and I'm just going to make some of these screens a little bit, we just got a bit more space. Here we can see, so for hole number 1 in the summary, we had 2 steps. Step number 1, step number 5, and the tons was 20,000. Okay, so 10,000 is way outside. So let's say it was 20,210. Right, so there we go. Now it's easier to just say, let's just say this is 19,000. And I'll make this 9,300. So I'm just putting in numbers just to remove. So 10,000, so let's just make a little bit more, so let's make it 10,200. And then there we can see we've got 20,000 on that plan, so make it 19,756. Okay, and yeah, we've got, so let's make this 21, make it 21,500. Okay, so our total for our ship was 120,000, the planned mass, and we at 19,966, so we're only 34 tons short. So that's quite a good plan. And then we save it. And that's how simple it is. So what I've showed you in this video is that once we've nominated the vessel, we know what the structure is. And as soon as we know what the structure is, we can do a load plan. We did the load plan by going to the logistics tab, into the planned loading section, right? We right-clicked, we created a plan, and we dragged and dropped the items, the load sequence into the vessel. While we were doing that, the source and the vessel hatch, the movement, all this was defaulted. One thing that I didn't mention is the start date. Yeah, start date, end date, planned for every single port can be entered. By default, MineMarket uses the time on the itinerary. So if we look here, there was the planned start loading was there at 1:12. Okay, so that's the time that it used on this. So it's at 1:12. Okay, so there's no duration there. You can see the duration is all 0. So after we did the load plan, we marked it as complete. We created another plan loading different products from different sides of the vessel, and then we decided which one was active or not. Once we decided which one was active, we could then have this transfer the either in the detail steps. So because we had 12 steps. If we had done this in the details, we would have had 12 steps here, but I did it as just a summary per hold. And then there we had our planned mass, we had our sequence, and then the shipping officer would then enter the mass on the side. So that's quite simple. It's a very powerful feature. It was done for the biggest iron ore miner in the world, specifically. So it's really solid, well-tested functionality. If you have any more questions, please contact our support.minemarket@dataminesoftware.com. Thank you for watching.